Hello! Today I'm going to be doing my Medieval-a-thon TBR. So I've been filming today, and I was going to film the playlist book tag, filmed about 25 minutes of it, and discovered that I really wasn't enjoying it and it wasn't really what I wanted it to be, so then I panicked. I went to Twitter, and I was like, Twitter, I don't know what to film. But in the interim of posting that tweet and then checking YouTube again, because I am chaotic, Holly Hearts Books posted a Medieval-a-thon announcement, which is a readathon that she has created for the month of July, in which you basically read to up your nobility rank, and for that there's only 6 categories. I will link her video down below, but you can go from reading 1 book to 6 books just to get up to king or queen, all the way from peasant. You can be like a squire, a knight, things like that, so that's all really good fun. Then she has a bunch of prompts for clothing, as far as like a crown, a cloak, a breastplate, things like that, medieval. And then she also has prompts for weapons. So basically, you read to become a noble and dress like a noble and have weapons. This is fun. It's just like a fun fantasy themed, almost like a miniature RPG type readathon. I've really been wanting to participate in a readathon in July, sort of, but I wasn't sure what I wanted. I just wanted something to really motivate me to read a lot, because I have a lot of travel coming up in the summer, guys. Like, I'm traveling once a month, every month in the summer. It's just a lot. So I want to be able to like stay on my game. I picked out the books that fit the prompts, and I'm also like, you're picking a lot of big books, Samantha, but it's fine. It's fine for those of you that got triggered by the word big books. Tome Top will be coming up probably in August, but haven't officially planned that yet, and this is about a different readathon. So I do want to read 6 books and become a queen, so I think that's manageable because I read on average around like 6 books. I feel like 6 books is doable for a decent reading month. And I want to get all the clothing and dress nobly. So here's the prompts for the clothing and the books I've chosen to go with them. Also, it's nice because a lot of these overlap. So I'm not choosing the same books to overlap different categories, but I can swap things around in case I don't finish all the books and then I'm not like improperly dressed. So to get a crown, which is goals, you have to read a book that is about a fight for the throne. I actually don't have a lot of these. As far as like a lot of my fantasy books that I have left, they're not exactly fight for the throne type books, so I had to really search a bit for this. But it worked out really well because Stolen Songbird by Danielle Jensen, which was one of my beginning of the year TBR books I wanted to get read within the first 6 months. I'm reading this in July, so that's not actually happening. But this is one of the books I wanted to read, so now I can read it in July, hopefully. This is about a girl that gets taken by trolls, but I think they're different kinds of trolls. Like, they're not the trolls that we're thinking. They don't have little gems in their stomach, nothing like that. And there becomes like a rebellion fight for the throne thing that ends up happening. But I've heard this is really good. This is a first book in a YA series about trolls, and people have talked like really well of it, even though it's underhyped. So I want to get to this. This is a good time. Then to get a helmet, which I'm not sure how that's going to work with my crown, but I still want a helmet to protect my face. You have to read a book with a dragon on the cover. This was very hard. I don't actually have a lot of books with dragons on the covers. I don't have a lot of dragon books. Like, I like dragons, but I don't necessarily read a book just because there's dragons in it. So there's only one book that I wasn't necessarily planning on reading, but that I recently talked about in my TBR unhaul video. So I'm more intrigued than I was, but it's the only book that counts. And that is The Ruin of Kings by Lyons. And this is the first book in an adult fantasy series. The main character is a guy that's grown up, like, loving fairy tale type stories, hero stories, legends, things like that, discovers, and the like world discovers, that he's the long lost son prince of a traitor, and he gets like thrown into all the political machinations of what's going on in this world. And it's kind of like, what if you weren't really the hero of the story, because supposedly he's destined to like destroy the world or the kingdom. So it features dragons though. And it's my only book with the dragon on the cover. Then to get a breastplate, you have to read a book with something shiny on the cover. So that can be a wholly shiny cover, shiny text, or like a shiny focal point. I really did like it all of the above with this one and decided to go with Space Opera by Catherine Valente. There's a chance that I could read this in June, although I'm not sure because I'm already like halfway through June. I have some travel coming up. I'm just not sure if it's going to happen for me, and I have some other books I needed to read before this. But this is my Patreon book pick for this month. So I want to at least get to it in early July if I don't get to it in June. If you are not aware, my Patreon supporters get to vote in a poll every month for a book that I will read and review, and this was the June pick. So it's going to be read in June or early July during this readathon, and it's shiny. If I don't read this, I have plenty of other books to choose from that have shiny text, so I'm not super worried, but I wanted to include this because it's all the shine. Then to get leggings, like the metal leggings, you have to read a thick paperback, and for that I chose 12 Kings by Bradley Baleo, which is a thick beast. And this is a book I've been meaning to read for so long, and I actually really want to film my 5-star TBR predictions wrap-up video, and this is the last book from that video what I predicted that I still have to read. So it needs to happen. It's been needing to happen for so long. It's just one of those books that I'm like, I need to read it at the perfect time, but like it's fine. So this is definitely a very, very thick paperback. Are you seeing how like all the books I'm reading besides space opera so far are very large, and I still have large books coming up? I'm fearful. Then to get some boots, you need to read a book that's yellowed a bit over time. I only have 3. This is one of them. There's another book that's yellowed a bit more than this, but this one, actually you can't tell on the video, but I can tell in person that it has yellowed. And this is The River of No Return by V. Ridgway, another book that I wanted to read in the first half of the year. I've been really good about my TBR goals. I mean, like my general TBR goals, yes, but my like 6-month TBR goals, I just like forget about. It's been a little bad this year, but I'm making up for it now in July. So this is a sort of contemporary but also historical time travel type fantasy, and I also recently talked about this in my TBR unhaul video. I ended up reading a chapter from it and still really being intrigued by it, so I want to read this now, and especially because it actually hits one of the prompts of this readathon, which is perfect timing. Then to get a cloak, you have to read a book with red on the dust jacket or on the cover, but she just wanted to say jacket because jacket, cloak, you know, all of that. So for that, I'm gonna read The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. This was also my Patreon VIP pick recently. So in addition to the polls, I put my Patreon supporters into a like raffle for someone to be chosen out of that raffle to then pick any book. One person gets to pick any book off my TBR for me to read. And this was picked by Joey, and we're actually gonna buddy read this, so it's perfect. It's perfect timing for me to want to read a red book. And lastly, for my weapon, I want dual wielding daggers. That's what I always choose when I am playing any kind of like fantasy game, and it's just like my weapon of choice for everything. So the prompt for that is a book with assassins. This is another buddy read, and it is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. Obviously it has assassins. The main character is trained to be an assassin, and I'm going to be buddy reading this with Mari, for my name is Mari Nez. I don't know if she knows that we're buddy reading it in July. By the time this video comes up, I've probably told her because we were traveling together, so she probably knows, but in case I didn't, Mari, we're reading this in July. We talked about it when we were at BookCon, and she had recently read the first book in this series, and I was like, oh, I want to read the second book in the series. This was also a Patreon book pick, so let's do that together. And she was like, okay, but I don't know if she knows like it's happening now. So Mari, it's happening now. We're reading it in July. So that is it for all the books that I want to read during Medieval-a-thon. This looks suspiciously like it could be a Tome Topple TBR with all of the large things. And usually for Tome Topple, I'm like, I'm only going to read 2 books. And granted, this is a month-long readathon, not a 2-week-long, but these books are large. Some of them are like YA, and some of them are not that large. Like, I'm not making eye contact with them. Eye contact. Like, books have eyes. Wouldn't that be creepy? Now I'm thinking of Hocus Pocus. But yeah, I'm nervous. But I've said before that I'm getting down to some of the bigger books in my TBR anyway, so every month I need to just be reading big books and not just save them for Tome Topple like all of you do as well. So that is it for my Medieval-a-thon TBR. Comment down below, let me know if you are participating. I love a good readathon that like lets you build like a character or like is sort of like an RPG. I just love it. I love it a lot. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all you guys soon. Bye.